Hello, you hear me? Okay. Welcome. I'm so happy that you're here, and we have two wonderful women who are going to speak to us tonight about the work that they do, and then we'll have a chance at the end for a few questions from you to interact with them. I just want to say before I introduce them a little something about Natalia. It's heartbreaking that she's not here. We really wanted her to be here and expected somehow through our networks to be able to achieve her presence. The issues are complicated and I won't go into them here, but I just wanted to share a little bit about something that she came and organized here in New York, I think a couple of years ago. She frequently, the company comes and performs at La Mama, but this day they were protesting the fact that in Belarus the bodies of people who are protesting, the bodies of protesters that have been killed, are not returned to the families. So she wanted to make sure that this was known here and that we had a real showing of support to give the bodies back. But being a theater artist, she created a physical metaphor which we all engaged in. Many of us, I'd say about 50 of us, went down to City Hall and got into body bags and stayed there for quite a while, zipped ourselves up into these white bags and stayed there while people outside of the bags were giving people information about this and hoping that this, and people had to walk, in that neighborhood through to go to work, and lawyers and things. So it was a very interesting and theatrical protest. And Natalia and her company are always thinking of things that can be metaphors for change, enacted theatrically, but with political reasoning. And they're doing beautiful work in London. Our friends Culture Hub, also connected to La Mama, are doing telepresencing so that their audience in Belarus can see them, even though they're doing pop-up performances in the tube. So if you don't know of their work, please find out more. Okay. Now here in the flesh, we have some magnificent people. We have Varvara Faer, who's a theater director and one of the founders of Teatr.doc. She's going to tell you all about this incredible company. She's the director of the famous political satire Putin, after which Teatr.doc was expelled from its rented space after this performance. Translating for her will be Nodra, and she's going to be speaking to Varvara throughout in Russian. Sitting to my immediate right is the beautiful and incredibly brave and talented Meriam Bousselmi, who is a writer, director, and lecturer in literature and theater studies, among other places, Morocco, Paris, Brussels, Berlin, and Tunis. She's also a lawyer, and since 2010, registered member of the Bar Association in Tunis. So these are very brief bios, because now I'm going to give them the floor to talk more about their work, who they are, and what they do. So that's my question. Who are you? Who are you, and what do you and your theater company focus on, and what are you working on now? So those are the questions to inspire you to speak for a few minutes about your work. So, Meriam, would you like to begin?
Okay. Hello. Please, I just would like to ask if it is possible to make the light and ambition a little bit less strong, so we can, yes, so I can see you in the eyes, because I think we go to theater to create an eye contact, and I don't like so much to don't see people in the eyes. So this is the first thing I do in life. I try to look at the other, to look at the world, it's difficult, of course, to speak about ourselves. It's for me always more easy to speak about the others, but to speak about myself is very difficult. But let's say that why I don't speak about myself, or I don't like to make a long thing short, because I hate this idea of reduction. And I think that today we live in a world where we think that we know everything, and we are supposed and we are asked to know everything and to have an opinion, to have a position about everything. So I am fighting first against this I know everything, I am the public speaker, or I am fighting against the reduction of the complexity of this world, the complexity of a culture, the complexity of a human being, the complexity of a biography, to small labels, or the small talks, or to small conflicts like a nation. It's just about 2 or 3 dates, or a person is just about 1 or 2 incidents. So I think the first thing I am doing in theater is to take the time. I am so lucky to be an artist, because I am paid to take the time to reflect, to think about the things, to use the time to re-look, to have a new look at the world. Most of us, we of course, this is the good, the positive image, and there is a negative image as well, because of course, I am also as a free, as a freelance artist, I am under stress to produce all the time work. So I'm also like all the time have to fight to find the possibility to produce work. And this contradiction, actually, it's in the bottom of my questions today. How we can produce art in a free way, that means how much freedom left for us to really produce something that can inspire people, something that can give us a new way to deal with the things, something which can be not like these mainstream narratives, very negative mainstream narratives of the world. So, yes, it's a lot of things.
Thank you so much. Let's just hear, we'll have much more chance to speak with you soon. But Varvara, I ask you the same question. Who are you, and can you tell us a little bit about the work you do and what you're working on now?
Здравствуйте, я тоже хотела со всеми поздороваться. Я буду говорить по-русски, потому что не очень хорошо владею английским.
Hello, I wanted to say hello to everybody. I will speak in Russian because my English is not as fluent.
Я представляю здесь Teatr.doc.
I'm representing Theater.doc.
Как документы в компьютере, вот в Word.
Like the Word doc.
Он так называется, потому что он организовался как театр документальной пьесы.
It's called this way because it was organized as a theater of documentary pieces.
Когда мы начинали в 2002 году, это было очень необычно в России, потому что никаких документальных пьес не могло быть там.
When we were starting in 2002, it was very unusual in Russia because there couldn't be any documental pieces, any documentary works.
И театр возник для того, чтобы, в первую очередь, для того, чтобы дать слово современному российскому драматургу и любому драматургу на постсоветском пространстве, потому что наше Министерство культуры и правительство убеждало всех, что Чехов последний великий драматург, после него никто не родится никогда.
And the theater was started to give an opportunity to speak for the new Russian drama works, because our Ministry of Culture and the government were saying that Chekhov was the last great a dramaturg, and there will be no one after him.
Вот, и тут образовался Театр.doc, и оказалось, что талантливых драматургов в России на постсоветском пространстве просто до хрена.
Then Theatr.doc was started, and it turned out that there were a bunch of talented drama writers and directors in Russia.
Поскольку на тот момент с драматургом у нас никто не считался, и первым в театре и в кино считался режиссер, то это был такой протест драматургов, это было основано именно как театр драматургов. Театр слова.
Because at that point, the prestige of a theater director was nothing compared to the prestige of film directors. It was a sort of a protest at that point.
То есть авторы хотели, молодые авторы, неизвестные, хотели заставить уважать себя, и им это удалось.
So young authors, they wanted to have the public respect them, and they were able to achieve that.
Уставом театра в театре запрещены костюмы, декорации, грим, музыка, и актеры обязаны играть свой возраст и свой пол.
In our rules, reglement of the theater, it's prohibited the costumes, decorations, makeup, and music, and the actors have to play their own gender. Age. No, sorry. Возраст.
Театр очень много уделяет внимания социальным вопросам.
The theater pays a lot of attention to social justice issues.
И мы придерживаемся теории малых дел и стараемся поддерживать тех, чей голос тих, слаб, или они вообще его не имеют.
And we adhere to the theory of small deeds, and we try to support those whose voice is quiet, weak, or doesn't exist.
Ну и всем талантливым молодым драматургам у нас как бы предоставлена сцена.
And we provide our stage to all young, talented directors, theater directors.
Но у нас полное разнообразие вот нашего так называемого репертуара, потому что люди талантливые все очень разные, взгляд на мир у них очень разный, и все на нашей площадке могут высказаться. Мы независимый театр. Мы независим от нашего правительства, Путина и от нашего Министерства культуры, к счастью.
So we have a very diverse repertoire because talented people are very different. They have different points of view, and we are an independent theater. We don't depend on the government, on Putin, or anybody in the power.
So, Miriam, we're going to get into a conversation between Meriam and Varvara, but would you like to say one last thing about the theater, and then we're going to begin our conversation?
Нет, я, в принципе, все главное сказала.
So I said everything important.
Well, thank you. That's really very clear, both of you, and thank you. So I just took some notes of the things that you spoke about, and Meriam, you spoke about the complexity and the kind of layers of work and experience and being, in a way, an underground artist in the world of theater. I would love to ask you both what it means to work underground. You've both had experiences working in what I'm going to just say is the light, or legally, above ground, and then underground in a more a free protest zone versus being in the public eye. Can you talk a little bit about that, about the difference between being underground and in the light? How does that affect your work? How has it been for you to make that shift? Can you go back and forth between the two?
I don't see the things like this. I think for me, I consider myself as someone who wants at least or look to be in the underground, because I understand the underground as a counter-culture, as a resistance to the mainstream culture, and as a critical mind to what is going on, what is easy to do, what is commercial, what is the official public cultural policies try to do, and what is the majority. I consider also my work as a space where I try to reflect and to question the established ways of thinking and les évidences, the evidence and the things that we don't question because we get used to it. So we were speaking with Varvara in the 10 minutes ago about the language. For example, today I am so concerned about the way the cultural system or the artists use the same language as the politicians. For example, diversity, immigration, victimhood. I mean, all the time we are just, all the time, main of the time, we talk about underground, or some artists present themselves as underground artists, but they reproduce by their work the same speech, the same discourses, the same labels, the same frames as what the cultural policies, what the official system are deciding for us. So when I say that, for me, the question is how much we are free, because if we speak about the underground art, it depends on the funding, raising funding. And the funding today, it's not you have a project and you do your project and you get the money. No, you have to label your project, you have to write, to apply, make application, and this application, every year you have a fashion team. So 1 year, 2010, 2011 was the spring, Arab Spring, Tunisian Revolution, where we had a lot of possibilities to make. We were invited everywhere as a Tunisian artist. I had a lot of possibilities, so my problem was what to choose. Today we are not anymore fashionable, so there is no interest at all at Tunisian artists, but there is a lot of interest for Turkish artists, Ukrainian artists. So I think the problem today is to rethink and to make a new definition, no, not to make a new definition, but to see exactly the meanings of the words and to deal with it in another way.
And Varvara, we spoke a little bit before about the difference when you had the building and when you lost the building to your company. And you were saying there was different difficulties in each circumstance. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Да, могу, конечно. Значит, у нас, собственно говоря, все просто. У нас Министерство культуры Российской Федерации налоги, поступающие в федеральный бюджет, считает своими карманными деньгами.
Yes, of course I can. Really speaking, everything is simple because our Minister of Culture of the Russian Federation thinks that the taxes that are being contributed to the federal budget are their pocket money.
И они распределяются через Министерство культуры, например, на фильмы, которые будут сниматься по сценарию, который написал министр культуры.
And they distribute these monies by Minister of Culture to films, for instance, that the scenario was written by the Minister of Culture, for instance.
Или на фильмы, которые хвалят Путина.
Or films that are praising Putin.
Вот. Но ни в коем случае не на наш театр. Ну, то есть никакие гранты, никакая поддержка из бюджета для нас невозможна. Поэтому мы, в общем, от этого не зависим.
But in no circumstance it's spent on our theater, no grants, no support, financial support whatsoever is not for our theater, and so we don't depend on that.
Вот, и, собственно говоря, мы лишились помещения там, по нескольким причинам. Сначала у нас был спектакль о Сергее Магнитском, вот час 18, замученном в тюрьме из-за того, что он раскрыл правду.
So we tried to, do our work about this. For instance, we had this show piece about Magnitsky, who was tortured to death in prison. This piece is called 118.
Потом появился вот мой спектакль «Берлус Путин», острая такая политическая сатира.
Then my show Belarus Putin was created. It's a very acute political satire.
Потом еще ряд политических спектаклей.
Then was a few more political pieces.
Таких вполне себе зрительских и свободных, популярных.
They were quite popular and well received by the audience.
И в конце концов директору театра позвонили доброжелатели и сказали, что если мы хотим остаться в помещении, которое мы сами платим за него, то мы должны снять с репертуара «Берлус Путин» и другие политические спектакли.
And then the director of theater received a phone call by good-willing people that said that if we wanted to continue staying there, that we need to take off the Belarus Putin show from our repertoire.
У нас директор гордая, сильная женщина. Она не только отказалась, она еще и пригласила украинских режиссеров с фильмом про Майдан.
Our director is a very brave woman, strong woman, and not only did she refuse to do that, she also invited Ukrainian directors with a movie of the film about Maidan.
Это было объявлено в афише, и в этот день пришел участковый милиционер.
It was announced in the bill, in the theater bill, and on that day we had a visit from the police.
В театр и сказал, что лучше не показывайте, как-то вот лучше вам будет.
He came to the theater and he said, "It's better you guys don't show it. It's just going to be better."
Гордый Театр.doc снова отказался.
So our proud Teatr.doc refused again.
Послал его как бы по известному адресу.
He was sent to a known address.
Вот, и приехали украинские режиссеры, начался фильм про Майдан, шел он ровно 5 минут.
Then the Ukrainian directors arrived, the film about Maidan started, and it was going on for exactly 5 minutes.
Потому что в театр ворвались люди, значит, в черных масках, с собаками, с автоматами наперевес, просто в огромных количествах.
Because suddenly the doors were broken into by people in masks with dogs and with huge guns.
Значит, они вышибали двери вот просто вот ногами. Вот
They were kicking out the doors.
Просто переворачивали все костюмы, реквизит, вот все вверх дном, там компьютеры в администраторской.
They were throwing around all the costumes and computers and all the theater provisions.
Значит, всех вот ведущих вот этого вечера арестовали и увезли в полицию.
All the hosts of this evening were arrested and taken to police.
Опечатали здание.
It was imprinted. The theater was imprinted. The building.
Вот, и, в общем, сказали без полиции не входить.
And so they cannot enter without police.
И в течение 2 недель, они просто у нас придурки, как бы, они одну дверь опечатали, а вторую забыли. Поэтому мы 2 недели еще давали спектакли, заводя зрителей со служебного входа.
But they are idiots because they closed one door, they sealed one door, and the other one they didn't. So for another 2 weeks we were still, doing shows and inviting the audience through the second door.
Вот, но когда я вошла в театр, в общем, вот после этого погрома, и увидела, как висели дверные косяки, и вот эта пена, на которой держатся двери, и как был разбит антикварный реквизит, разорванные костюмы, и такая маленькая деталь, там у нас были конфеты, подарочные в доке, вот как бы вот эти вот менты пожрали все вот эти конфеты. Это было неприятно.
So, but when I went there and I saw how these doors were destroyed and they were just hanging off of somewhere, and all the theater, goods and provisions, they were destroyed, the costumes, and even we had some antique things we were using in the theater, that everything was destroyed, and the cherry on top was this candy, chocolate candy that we got as a present. So these police guys, this guy, they ate our chocolates while they were doing a pogrom at our theater.
Вот, а они ворвались, собственно говоря, повод, они придумали такой, что в театре заложена якобы бомба, и при этом их сопровождали 2 человека из Министерства культуры, не щадя живота своего.
So the reason that they used to justify, breaking into our theater and destroying it was that there was a bomb, hidden in the theater. But at the same time, they were accompanied by 2 people from the Ministry of Culture that, pouring the freight for their stomachs.
А театр находился в жилом здании, имеющем вверх там 9 этажей.
And the theater was located in a residential building that had 9 stories.
И почему-то, когда они искали бомбу с собаками в течение часа, они не эвакуировали жителей вот этих вот до 9-го этажа.
So for some reason, when they were looking for the bomb for an hour with dogs, they didn't evacuate all the residents of the building.
Вот. Более того, они, взяли в заложники нашего техника, и специалист из центра это по борьбе с экстремизмом, какой-то полковник, 2 вот эти человека из Министерства культуры и наш техник еще час смотрели вот этот фильм про Майдан в якобы заминированном помещении.
And they took our technician, the RT person, hostage, and so this our technician and these 2 people from Ministry of Culture and this military guy, they were watching the film about Maidan for an hour in this supposed allegedly, place where a bomb was hidden.
Вот, и потом в 5 утра только наших арестованных смогли освободить. Вот директор, художественный руководитель Театр.doc, сами поехали в полицию с адвокатом. Только к 5 утра смогли их освободить. В общем, и мы начали искать новое помещение. Там многие друзья предоставили нам свои временные площадки.
So only at 5 o'clock in the morning, we were able to release our arrested colleagues. The director and our director of Teatr.doc, they went to police at 5 a.m. to get our colleagues who were arrested with lawyers. And in the meantime, some friends were providing us with temporary places to hold our space.
А мы нашли новое помещение. Люди краудфандингом собрали нам деньги на ремонт. Через 4 месяца мы поставили спектакль «Болотное дело» о задержаниях на Болотной площади вот во времена протеста 2012 года. И нас выгнали снова.
Then we found a new space. So with crowdfunding, we gathered funds to pay for it. And in 4 months, we staged another piece that was called Bolotное дело. It's like the lake of Faer. And it was about the protest of 2012 in Bolotное.
So are you able to be freer now in this new space than you were in the other building?
Нет, нас оттуда выгнали.
No, we were also we had to leave from there. Yeah. After the Bolotное дело piece, we were kicked out from there.
Там опять пришли люди с собаками, то там прокуратура, МЧС, участковый, ФСБ, Центр по борьбе с экстремизмом, специалист из убойного отдела и даже специалист по твердым отходам.
So again, people with dogs came, the federal prokuratura, which is prosecutors, МЧС, ФСБ, all these government agencies, they came and kicked us out.
So this is something that I wanted to just bring Natalia's voice in a little bit too, because she, of course, had to leave Belarus, but now in London she is facing different kinds of persecution and censorship, and some of it is self-censoring. So, and I know, Meriam, you are now living in Berlin. I wonder how that affects you. Do you ever feel the need to self-censor in order to get funding, as Natalia does? Do you feel if you're now feeling freer in Berlin than you were and you're not?
Absolutely not, of course. No. I like always to think about this joke, I don't know if you know it, about a German worker who was sent to Siberia, and he made a deal with his friends that he will send letters, but he knew that his letters will be read by the censorship. So he said, okay, listen, we make a deal, I will write in blue ink or in black ink the truth, so what happened really, and the liars I will write them in red. 1 month after he arrived to Siberia, the first letter came to his best friend. Hello, here everything is okay, we have nice apartment, it's very big, there is a good heating, you go to the shops, there is everything from the West, you can buy everything, there is even very nice girls that you can get them for an affair. Everything is possible except to find red ink. So I think today, for me as an artist, what is missing is this red ink. And in Tunis, I had to face, I am born in 1983, so I grew up with Ben Ali for 29 years old. I was working under a kind of, I will say, a system, not a real dictatorship in the sense of Russia, Putin Russia, but it's a dictatorship that you can speak about all except about the political, about the president and the family of the president. So we always use metaphors to speak about that, and everyone understood, and we have even some artists who became like heroes, and they play with the system, because I think that the system needs as well some protesters, so he can show that it's a kind of show off his power as well. So he needs some people that became famous and go outside of the country and presented as protesters, and then that means that there is a system. So this was a problem, so we deal with it with metaphors, and then we made this revolution, or something happened, and as a naive person in this time, I thought, wow, so change is coming, so now we can do things in another way, and I started to do, I said, no more metaphors, now I would like to do theater, find a new aesthetics. And here I had to face the dictatorship of aesthetics of my colleagues and of the audiences, because for them they were used to works with metaphors, so you cannot say this is to find another language, a direct language, to say, okay, I am against political Islam in this piece, Sabra, or what, was gibt's Neues nach der Revolution? What is new after the revolution? I was staging scenes from the facts, about how political Islam started to be very present in the city, about aggressivity, about violence, and using very direct references, but in a poetic way, of course, because I think that in theater it's always about the way you stage things. But I said no more metaphors. Now we do the things with another language. And then I had all the people telling me, I mean, the press, the play was censored. It was more censorship after the 2011 than before 2011, actually. And also the self-censorship, because the actors, the performers, I had to change the performance 3 or 4 times, because for them, they cannot assume the discourse to say, as a laik person, I have the right to or a citizen in a born-in democracy. I thought that we can criticize what is going on, so we have the freedom now to criticize, but for them they were not able, because they were so afraid of being aggressed by Islamists or the Salafists who came to our rehearsal space and tried to stop us to do the work. So actually the fight for freedom to do and how to do was more clear in Tunisia. But then when I started to live in Europe, because I also left Tunisia, because I said, okay, I am fed up with fighting for the basic things. That means also we have to choose the fight. I think today in Tunisia it's a big mediocrity. This is, I mean, since Aristotle, he spoke about when democracy become only a theatrocracy. So when everything is staged, when theater is everywhere, so what we can do? My question today, if you look at what is going on around you, it's more theater than what you can think as theater, yeah? As a writer or as a play director, I am all the time surprised, okay, that can happen, okay, in my imagination not, yeah? So this is the problem. So today in Tunisia, it's a theatrocracy, so I thought, okay, when I was in Tunis, I was all the time making work in different parts of the world, and in a moment for also personal ambition to achieve some things, I wanted to go and live in Berlin, and to do also a new PhD about the staging of justice, which is something that can rely my both professional careers as a lawyer and as a writer and play director, which is not possible in my country, because we don't have this possibility to make PhD in such yes, exactly. But then as an international artist, I find myself facing these cultural policies where you have to also be the victim. So if I want to do work, I have to deal with what the Germans or what the French people or decide for me to do. So I have to work with immigration, or I have to work with the diversity, or I have to work with the women. I have to say that in my country I am the victim, I have to put the veil, or no, in my country I drink, I am free, I do that, I am struggling like here. So it's also like, where is freedom? Where is the red ink? There is no red ink. And the problem that we cannot speak about this and freedom, because we can see it, people don't see it. And even my friends, my German friends or colleagues, or my European colleagues, they are also obliged to do these applications and to choose the words. It's very important, the words. There is another joke that I really like about a theater maker who went to the director went to meet a director of cultural affairs in a ministry and asked him, I would like to create a school for dramatic arts. And he said, oh, sorry, we don't finance schools. So he thought about it, and then he came again after 1 month and said, listen, I think we have to do a conservatoire for theater studies. Or he says, no, conservatoire is not our interest. The theater maker didn't lose hope, and he took again 2 or 3 months to think about how to present the concept, came back and told him, listen, I think it will be so good for for the city that if we create an institute for advanced studies, theater studies. And he said, yes, this is our interest. Actually, an institute will be very interesting for us. So it's just a school, conservatory, or institute, and then if you get the right words, you go to the kingdom. So this is also for me, like for these colleagues, they are not free and they cannot put the words about this and freedom. What is freedom when freedom is about pre-settled choices? Are you free when you choose to eat cheesecake or chocolat chaud? I mean, this is the only freedom you have today as artists. I don't see anyone who is able to do a work out of these frames, out of this way. The political power decide for us what we have to do, because even when we do protest, we are protesting against the system. So we are not able to see ourselves or to see the world out of those frames. And I am all the time searching how we can do it out and without being in this fighting against, how to create and not to react. This is a big question, and this is not in Tunis or in America or in Europe. I think it's a global problem, and I don't know how much we are conscious, aware about it.
I wanted to, thank you. We have about 5 minutes left, and there's so many things I want to ask you. What I want to throw out is a couple of things, and Varvara, respond however you want. First of all, I'm very curious about who your audiences are now that you've lost these buildings and you've moved into other venues of performance. And then also, do you feel that theater of resistance and theater itself is a useful tool in making change? Do you see its effect on the audiences and the people around you?
У нас вот какое-то время назад появился термин «люди с хорошими лицами».
Some time ago, this term was created, people with good faces.
Вот наш зритель — это люди с хорошими лицами.
Our audience are people with good faces.
Очень много молодежи.
A lot of young people.
Но просто спектакли настолько разные, что вот любая публика приходит, и на инвалидных колясках приезжают, и инклюзивные показы, там вот для аутистов и даунов, вот сказку я показывала там, ну, и другие коллеги тоже делают.
Our shows are so different that the audiences are also very diverse. We have people coming in wheelchairs, and we even had an inclusive show for kids on the autism spectrum. It was a fable.
Считается, что в Москве Театр.doc является таким оазисом свободы высказывания.
It's considered that the Theatr.doc in Moscow is sort of an oasis of freedom, of expression.
У нас очень часто после спектакля идет дискуссия, общение со зрителем, и зрители говорят, что вот воздух, вот можно дышать. Вот мы пришли сюда, и вот можно дышать.
We often have discussions, Q&A after the shows, and the audience members say that it's like air, we can breathe, it's possible to breathe.
И мы работаем ради нашего зрителя. Вот. И остаемся в России ради нашего зрителя.
And we work for the sake of our audience, and we stay in Russia also for the sake of our audience.
Просто мы нужны ему, потому что если нас не будет, ему будет нечем дышать.
They need us because if we're not there, they won't be able to breathe.
Thank you. So lastly, I just want to ask you both if you have a dream for the future. That's a very American question. It's one of those. I'm always accused of having an American smile, which is sort of like, if you could make Disneyland, what would it look like? I don't mean that so much, but I mean, what are you reaching? Is there hope? Do you feel there's hope? And that's one question. And the second question, just to finish up, is This is Meriam's first time in America. She's been here since yesterday, and I'm glad that this is the city she's landed in. And so the second part of the question is there anything you would like people here specifically to know in this country about what's going on in your own? Yes. So Varvara, is that
Моя мечта?
My dream?
Я-то вот на самом деле так посматриваю в сторону Станиславского и понимаю, что такая свобода творчества у него была, потому что у него был свой свечной завод, ну, в кавычках. Вот. И я вот как-то так размышляю, что Театр.doc, и, может быть, мне лично нужно иметь вот свой свечной заводик, для того, чтобы не зависеть уже вообще нахрен ни от чего. Да, вот, чтобы была полная финансовая независимость, и тогда можно делать вот просто все, что хочешь. Вот это моя мечта.
My dream is, for instance, I look at Stanislavski, and I know that he was free to create because he had his own candle factory, so to say. And when I think about Teatr.doc and me personally, I'd like to have this kind of a candle factory, so I could do whatever the fuck I want, and there's the financial independence, so I could do whatever I want.
Вот, а то, что касается, чего бы я хотела, чтобы узнали люди в Америке, мне кажется, вопрос-то вот немножечко по-другому нужно поставить, потому что я вижу в своей стране очень большую проблему нагнетания огромной ненависти к Америке и укрепления вот очень дурацких стереотипов про Америку.
So about the second question, what I would like for people here to know, I think it has to be asked a little bit differently, because what I see in Russia is that there is some kind of a promotion of hatred towards America.
И вот если бы, это тоже про мечту, кстати говоря, была такая возможность с помощью вот американских людей искусства вот эти стереотипы разрушить в стране, вот в моей, вот это было бы здорово. А в самой Америке широчайшие просто, ну, как бы культурные слои, тут столько всего много, и так много информации, и есть к ней доступ, что, в общем, людям надо немножко отдохнуть от этой информации.
So it also speaks to my dream, this thing. So in Russia there's all these stupid stereotypes created by about America, and what I'd like is that for American people talented American people to destroy these kind of stereotypes in Russia. And also, in speaking of America, there's very huge cultural levels here, and a lot of information and a lot of access to information, and sometimes maybe it's good for people to take a break from this to relax a little bit.
Thank you. Okay, I'm told we're out of time, but would you like to say one last thing inspired by those questions, or anything you would like to say to this American audience? Your first, but not your last.
I believe in human being, and I don't feel Tunisian or Berliner or American. I feel first human being, and in theater I am connected to the human, and a human being is the capacity to create poetry, to see beauty, and for that I would like to finish maybe with a sentence, with a small poem from Apollinaire, and to continue with the speech of Varvara. Apollinaire says, it is big time to rekindle the stars, and I hope that all of us be part of this big soft power, which is about make the star everywhere